All right, good morning. I love the energy in this room. If you still want to get some coffee, you will not offend me if you want to get that before we really get started with the program. And I know that throughout the morning, if you want to get anything to drink, please feel welcome to do that. It's really exciting to be in this room. I mean, this is a moment that honestly we've been working on to achieve with you for over probably a couple years now, as we really started to launch with the talent area, with the partnership. What is it we need to be doing together to market our great city and our great region? My name is Jeff Fluhr, and I have the pleasure of serving as the president of the Great Wichita Partnership. And again, we just can't thank you enough for being here. I know that we've been working to work on the collateral with a lot of you to get to this place of how is it that we really communicate about our city with one voice. As we get started this morning, there are a couple people I do want to recognize because they have been working diligently to prepare for today. In fact, I know they were here very early this morning, and that's Megan Carver and then Leah Lavender. Where are you all? Megan's over here, there's Leah. Let's give them a round of applause. Many of you know Leah. Leah, we hired several years ago to really launch the Ho Talent Initiative coming out of the partnership. She's done a phenomenal job of really getting us to a very strong position so that, again, we can market not only to our area but across North America, but even globally about the opportunities. So Leah, where'd you go? There you are. Thank you for all your leadership and what you continue to do with the partnership in this area. This is a very dynamic moment with the development of Wichita. You see it, you live here, and in fact, as we get started, how many natives of Wichita do we have in the room? If you grew up here, awesome. Glad you stayed. Don't go anywhere, all right? You've made the right decision to stay. I think that our best years actually are coming in the subsequent years to what we're seeing happening right now. So just raise your hand if you've moved into Wichita. It could be from the other parts of the state, but also different parts of the country. So look at all the hands there. And so again, I think what's happening is the word is getting out about Wichita and what's happening. You know, back in 2009, there was a very concerted effort by the private sector working with the public sector to really start, how do we catalyze a lot of development in our downtown? In about 10 years, we've been able to achieve collectively about $750 million of investment. That's a lot of investment. You think about the economy in the U.S. during that time, that's a tremendous accomplishment. Part of that's because we do have a lot of local banks here, fortunately, so you're seeing a lot of investment in ourselves. Now, what we want to do is continue to accelerate that. You know, when Melissa and I looked at moving, I'm a transplant. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. I went down to Baton Rouge to go to grad school at LSU, ended up staying down there like 17 years, met my wife there. And then we were recruited to come up to Wichita in 2008. And I would tell you it was a very easy decision because as you looked at the city at that time, there was a lot happening, but it just wasn't connected yet. You had Old Town, you had the new arena being built, you had some really dynamic things starting to happen along the river, but it was really how is it that you bring all this together? And so it was an easy decision for us to come in because it was a moment that we saw opportunity. And certainly we see even more opportunity. The potential is even greater today than I think it was even back in 2009, 2008, in that time period. The thing that's exciting too is that hopefully you've noticed the projects are getting bigger. You know, back in 2008, 2009, 10, we would celebrate the $5 million projects. Now they're still important today, don't get me wrong, but when you look at what's happening in our downtown and across our region, think about Cargill. That's a $75 million investment by Cargill. Plus, we fought above our weight class as a city, as a community to keep Cargill because we were fighting against Texas, Colorado, and a couple other states to keep Cargill here. And we were able to do that collectively again through the city, the state, and what was going on privately. So with those larger projects, we also have greater opportunity to be even more distinctive, more of a signature city. And one of the things I'd be totally amiss if I didn't really plug this right now is that the Riverfront Legacy Master Plan is underway. And next Thursday, the 14th, at 6:30 p.m. at the Hyatt in the Eagle Ballroom, you have the opportunity as a community to see 4 different design concepts for that important area of our riverfront? How is it we create a riverfront that's distinctive, such as Cincinnati and Louisville, Kentucky, and Chattanooga, Greenville? This is our moment of opportunity, but we need to hear your voice. So if you can, please join us as we work on that collectively. Fortunately, one of the things that we have the opportunity is being involved with the partnership is how we're aggressively really working to develop Wichita. And we're doing that in three major areas. We're doing that with jobs, of course, that's retention, the attraction. Entrepreneurship is very key to that. And we're also looking at quality of place, what I've been talking about already. How is it you create that distinctive city? How do you create a very distinctive region? And then talent. And that's what we're talking about today. Talent's a very important part of economic development. In fact, so many of our conversations, when we're talking to a company about expansions or potentially coming into this marketplace for the first time, it quickly gets the conversation about talent. In fact, talent is the economic commodity, if you will, because they ask, what is your pipeline of talent? So what's going on with education? How are you turning people that maybe are underemployed in your community into new opportunities? How is it you're attracting talent from across the country? And that's a global issue. I will tell you, it's not just North America, it's global. So part of what we're doing today is how is it that we really work with you effectively? You do not need us to sell your company. I mean, you do that extremely well. You know who you are, your mission, where you want to go. What we want to do through the partnership is come alongside you to help you sell where you're located. Why Wichita over Dallas or Denver or the East Coast or the West Coast, whatever that city may be that you may be competing against for that person that you need, or even the retention of talent. Sometimes those conversations, come internally when you have someone who approaches you and say, I've got an opportunity in X city, that you can quickly be able to turn the conversation and say, why would you think about that when so much is going on here, and actually, here's what's coming? Don't you want to be a part of that? So how is it that we really equip you with that type of information? And on your tables, there'll be more conversation about what's on your tables, but that's a big purpose about what you're seeing on that collateral. And Leah will be walking through with you in a few moments about the Talent Marketing Blueprint, which is a really exhaustive marketing campaign that we put together working with Development Counselors International out of New York and also Howerton and White. So we're really bringing the best to the table to be able to give you that type of information. So part of what we want to make sure that we're always doing is diving deep into our strategies. How is it that we're competitive? I will tell you that in part of aerospace, which is one of the industries that we work in, Alabama is after us every chance they get. Now, I went to LSU, so there's no unbiased, thing against Alabama. Actually, there is. There's a competitive edge there that we want to make sure we always have. But we always talk about our prominence and dominance in aerospace. We need to be very proud about that. We also need to be proud, though, what's happening in the law firms, what's happening in our accounting, our IT. All that needs to be things that we're really pushing the message. And so we need to continue to work on how we tell that story so that we do not miss an opportunity. So today, you're going to be called to action on several things. One is we continue to need your help. In fact, one of the things that I'm sure Leah will do, I'm going to jump in here. If you're on Leah's Talent Advisory Committee, would you raise your hand? Because there's a number of you that have been working with Leah, and I see these individuals' hands. They have been working with Leah to help us, but we also continue to need your input on how we really help you with your recruiting efforts. And we need to understand, as you'll hear from Jeremy today, what are some of those cultural shifts? What's happening with the trends? One of the things that we really value at the partnership is understanding or know that we know what's happening in the marketplace. So Jeremy's going to give you some really unique, I think, insight to what's happening there. We do not need to be bashful about Wichita. I've already kind of hinted on a little bit with aerospace, the prominence and the dominance we have in that marketplace. But we have some great companies here. And diverse companies. We have unique aspects of our universities, the innovation campus, what's happening with WSU, and I think with the naming of the new president to build on the legacy of Dr. Bardo just last week is going to be really important, and that new opportunities are going to come about. And so as we move forward today, you're going to hear a number of speakers before you to really talk about what we're all here about today, and that's how is it that we really help bring talent into Wichita, but also keep talent here. I would reference your agenda. You've got these on your table. This will kind of give you kind of the lay of the land this morning and what's coming forth, and also opportunities to continue that conversation. So one of the things that we know we need to do today is how is it we continue to have that shared message about our region. Just imagine if we could really communicate that effectively, not only through North America, but globally, that there'd be one voice coming out of Wichita. Huge impact. What if we could also have that conversation really be fervent among the talent community? Because talent, that's why we actually selected and started choosewichita.com or .org, both of those work, to really be able to tell our stories. So we need to be relentlessly original. Those are all things that we feel like we need to drive. And I know together, with all of you in the room, we can really sharpen our competitive edge to be able to do those things, because there really is a war on talent, and we've got to be aggressive with that. To kick off today, we've got an individual that is blazing a trail in her own right. Melissa Knoeber is the Executive Vice President of Culture and Talent for Fidelity Bank. And the thing with Melissa is that this is a whole new position. I love Aaron Bastian, who is the CEO of Fidelity, because they really are pressing forward in a whole new, bold way. I wish I could really go through a lot of things that they're doing. I think Melissa will talk about those. But she's really working on talent in the cultural department, if you will, of their team. One of the things that really impressed me the other day, they're building a $53 million headquarters in our downtown, is that when they had the groundbreaking, they really focused around their employees. It was their moment to celebrate. And I think that just really speaks volumes to what they want to do as far as their talent. We were with her last night. Yesterday, she was on a 3-city tour. But yet came to dinner last night. So that kind of gives you the relentless, work that she's doing to drive forward Fidelity, but also, I think, to help drive us forward as a community to be as sharp as we can be as we recruit and retain talent. So join me in giving a warm welcome to Melissa as she starts us off today.
Good morning. So I was teasing Jeff earlier because this is very unstable and I'm a pacer. So I'm going to need your help that when my heel gets caught, I'm going to need help getting up. And for everybody else that continues to talk today, know this. If you have flats, put them on, Megan. Yeah. I am Melissa Knoeber, Executive Vice President and Director of Culture and Talent for Fidelity Bank. And I am so honored and humbled to be here today to basically just tell my story about the last few years. But first, I want to take a moment, and I really want to welcome you to the very first Recruit Wichita. We've never done this before. How cool is this? I need some energy here. Yes, and thank you. Thank you to the Greater Wichita Partnership and all the work that they have done. Another round of applause for them, please, because they are amazing, and we are lucky to have them here. So today I want to take you back a few years, and I want to be very honest with you about some of the things that Fidelity was facing, and a commitment that we made on several fronts, and a couple of the cool things that we've done just in the last 10 months. And I will be very open and honest that we know we're going to fail at some of these things at some point. We've had a great 10 months so far, but we're okay with that. And I think that's one thing that you'll see resonating through this, and I'll also close with that. Don't be afraid to make tiny steps, to just try. And that's something that I think as we all move forward, we're not very good at doing that. We want to make sure that we can succeed. So let me take you back about 2 years ago, and we were facing very real issues. In fact, we still are. But when Aaron Bastian and I sat down and we really analyzed everything that we were looking at, these were 4 of the really big things that we had a problem with. One was an aging workforce, and I'm certain that a lot of you in here today have the same problem that we have. And in fact, 30% of our workforce is 50 or older, 30%, which in turn leads to a knowledge gap that we are going to face, because 65% of our employees have 5 years or less of tenure. Yeah, I heard the So that was huge. Every time we were turning around, we were coming up with an issue that revolved around talent. And we were worried, as a family-owned business, that we weren't just going to lose the policies and procedures and the why we decided to offer this checking account type of knowledge. We were going to lose who we were. We were going to lose our stories. We were going to lose the very thing that makes us different from everyone else, because everybody that works at a company, you're different than everyone else. So we had to really take a look at some other things. We were losing key talent. We were training people, we were investing a lot in that, and then they were leaving. And they weren't just leaving us for all of you, they were leaving Wichita. And also, we had stagnant recruitment. And when we were looking at that, not only was it because we couldn't retain or attract talent from outside the region, but maybe we had the wrong people in leadership positions. And so what I do is a lot of fun, but sometimes it's not so fun, having to have hard conversations, and that's something that we really had to take a dive into and look at. And through all of that, we made a commitment. We decided that we were going to focus on some things, and one of those was partnering with local resources. If we were facing the same things everybody else was, how could we fix this? In 2015, James Chung was here. Did anybody ever go to any of James's? Yes, hands, yes, amazing. So there's the 4 issues that we're facing, everything from human capital to business cycle, perception being a huge one. I think we've moved the needle a little bit on that. That's pretty cool. And human capital just kept coming up and over again. So we decided we were going to, and this was literally a year and a half, 2 years ago, make the commitment that if someone was going to drive those initiatives forward, we wanted to be on board with them. And what do we need to do to help you? How can we make that happen? We also decided as a company to devote our time to 3 things: talent, culture, and civic engagement. And I'll go into each of those and give you some examples of the things that we have done in the last 10 months. And I keep referring back to 10 months because we launched the Office of Culture and Talent. I don't know where I'm going here. There we go. In January of just this year. And I have to tell you my background a little bit. I'm not an HR person by trade. I have a business degree. I was in banking for almost 20 years. So I knew our business, and I also jumped into the HR realm in 2012 and had just an amazing experience. But I will tell you, the banker side came out in me when my boss came and said, "Hey, how would you like to be the director of culture and talent?" I'm like, "Ooh, that's creepy and weird, and I don't know what that means." But that was true. That was a true story. And what we ended up, or how we ended up creating this is bigger than an HR initiative. The Office of Culture and Talent has things that we do in and of itself, but also human resources reports up through me, our marketing team reports up through me, and our corporate social responsibility division reports up through me, completely focusing on our talent, our culture, and our civic engagement in a way that we can control the messaging to our communities, we can control the messaging to our customers, and we can do something we've never done before, and that's market to our employees. And so getting all of that brain power in the room and really being able to push things forward has been a game changer for us. So that was in January of this year. And I'm gonna go through talent and culture and civic engagement and kind of break some of that down and tell you a little bit of the initiatives that we've done in each of those areas. So one of the first things that we realized was, and I don't even know who said it, but people believe the change they can see, right? If they are experiencing change, most of the time it's scary, it's never going to benefit them. So we wanted to change that perception to where if anyone sees or hears something coming out of the Office of Culture and Talent, it's really cool and they want to be a part of it. So I embarked on a series of listening tours and focus groups on something that's near and dear to our people's hearts. And that was our leave types, meaning bereavement leave, PTO, that type of thing. And I basically asked them, do we give you what you want? Are you able to live here the way you want to? Because that's really important. If you're doing research today, you're finding that people don't just want to be a credit analyst or an accountant or even an HR generalist. They want to be a full, well-rounded person, and they're looking to workplaces to provide that. So I fully intended all of our folks to tell us we don't give them enough time off, and I was gonna take it because I call myself Switzerland in regards to all of my divisions. They can complain about our marketing, they can complain about our civic engagement, and they certainly can complain about HR stuff because they know, hey, we'll try and fix it. Why not? The worst thing that can happen is we fail. However, I did not hear that. They were fine with the time we give them. What they wanted was more time. How do I get more if I need it, right? Because what I was finding was they were calling in sick only when they were on their deathbeds. How many of you have companies like that you've got employees that are coming to work sick? I'm seeing some hands. And I didn't really realize that they were hoarding their paid time off, and it was actually hurting our company in that way. So through all of this, we ended up changing some of our leave types. We introduced purchased paid time off this year, and we also changed up our bereavement leave, which sounds kind of weird, but through this and just listening to our folks, we found that people are and were being raised by their grandparents or their aunts and their uncles, and that the time that we were giving in that category was not sufficient. And from that moment, when we launched those changes in April, I had them hooked. If they see something coming from the Office of Culture and Talent, they want to be a part of it. I have standing room only crowds if we're doing something, and that meant the world, just listening to them. We also decided to partner with local resources, and through that, we've done a lot of work with the Greater Wichita Partnership through the Talent Advisory Board and in general, and you'll get to hear a lot about that later as well. Moving on to a piece that coincides with this is our culture. And Fidelity already had a great culture. All of us work in amazing places, and you have your own culture, and it's amazing. And so we just had to carry on through this. We just had to move the needle a little bit to help with retention and to make folks feel like they have a say in what happens. And one of the things that we did was we purposely made a commitment to our talent to incorporate talent into every single thing that we do. In fact, for the first time a year and a half ago, we have an entire section in our strategic plan, and yes, we really are a bank, on talent. And it was weird and creepy for the rest of the senior executive team to have to really talk about that because it's not something people usually do. You know, I've got my chief credit officer sitting next to me going, oh man, I really gotta think about that. Yeah, you really gotta think about that. So in everything that we're doing, talent comes first. And one of the things that we looked at here was where were our gaps? Where were our gaps in ways that we were helping folks be able to survive in today's environment? And we had people coming to us that had little tiny needs such as my washing machine broke down, is there anything that you can do? Or my car broke down last night, I don't know where I'm gonna get the $700 to fix this. Or every spring recently, my basement flooded, right? And time again. And things that did not fit our hardship plan for our 401k, so they couldn't get little tiny loans, and we had this huge gap. So in listening to our folks, we enacted an employee hardship plan that was rolled out in June. And my goal, because the commitment from ownership was that they were gonna match dollar for dollar to every amount that was put into this, which by the way, a company our size, we usually can never do this. This is for the cool kids. This is for the Textrons and the Spirit and Airbus and all of those big gigantic companies. But through research, we ended up having a great partner in this, and we launched it, and I hoped that I could get $7,500, and the company would match that $7,500, and I'd have $15,000 to be able to help people this year in a way that we never have before. Little bits and pieces, sometimes that makes all the difference. And by the end of the campaign, our employees had given $50,000, and we took the bank to the cleaners for another $50,000. And it has continued to grow. And as of today, it's only been available for use for the grants for a few months, but we've given out almost $9,000 in grants. So that is, our people are really loving that. Thank you. So the commitment to talent that's also a little strange, and it's strange for me, is that everything is looked at through the eyes of our talent. How are our people going to live in our spaces? How are they going to enjoy the benefits that we offer? And that includes a little construction project that maybe some of you, have you seen the crane in downtown Wichita? First time a crane's been up in almost 20 years, yeah. Yeah, the Hyatt was the last time. So oddly enough, that's a talent project for us. Completely about our folks. And we are looking at this, much to the chagrin of our engineers and architects and construction companies, through the lens of how our folks are gonna live in a parking garage. So that means things like, I leave the bank about 5 or 6 times a day, just running to, messages or, trying to get meetings done. How is my hair gonna work in here? Because, that's a big deal in parking, right, women, right? 66% of our workforce is female, so I'm thinking about these things. Also, we started out in introducing this in focus groups and listening tours, and I don't know how many times people said, Melissa, you know that every episode of Criminal Minds begins in a parking garage? Great, thanks for that gift. So we were very purposeful. We want this to be as bright as daylight. We are going to have lots of security features, and it's a private garage. We're not opening this up. This is for our employees. This is truly to make our employees feel safer, have a great place to park, and live where they are working. Things like the stairs, the tread of the stairs, that matters. Sight lines matter. So taking talent and culture into everything that you do, little bits and pieces and things that you've never dreamed of, really does matter. They're also getting a say into what the retail spaces are going to be at the bottom. Who am I going to go partner with? Because they need to know their main customer, our Fidelity Bank customers. So if we put a restaurant in there and they, charge $50 for lunch, are our folks going to do that every day? It's not just about finding someone to get in the spot, it's about how can we support our employees. And civic engagement, this one is really near and dear to my heart because being a part of the Fidelity family means that you have to give back. It always has been a piece of who we are, just starting with ownership and down, but really making this purposeful. Because if you come to work at Fidelity, we are no longer hiring for the best accountant, credit analyst, HR generalist. We want you to care who you work for. And that is a recruiting tactic, but also a way to make our community better. And we have to just draw the line in the sand and make sure that we are doing that. And so one of the leave types that we gave this year was our volunteer time off. Every employee has 24 hours, we're starting with that for the first fiscal year, 24 hours to go and do something that they want to do on work time. Take it and go. Now, this doesn't count the stuff the bank's already doing because we have a phenomenal corporate social responsibility division that provides a tremendous amount of opportunity for us to get out and involved in the community. And because of that, we want people to do what they want to do. If you want to go work at the Humane Society for a day and we're not doing anything with them this month, go and do it. If you want to go volunteer at your kiddo's school, take 8 hours and go and do it. Take 2 or 3 hours at a time, we don't care. But they have a new bucket this year called volunteer time off. And we also decided that we were going to put a lot of our charitable giving into purposeful things. A lot of times, and that's what my corporate social responsibility division does, is all of our charitable giving and volunteerism efforts. But a lot of times we get asks for little $500 here, there, and everywhere, and that's great that we're supporting those things, but how can we be a game changer? How can we give $70,000 to something? How can we give $100,000 to something to complete or create something brand new? And so this is something that as we really are getting into that, this is going to be a major focus for us going forward, to be purposeful in the funds that we're giving to make sure that we can make a difference. So I say all of this to tell you or to ask you, what can you do? And don't think that I'm so naive to believe that everybody can just go out and do all this cool stuff. I know you can't, because it starts from the top. But really, I would just ask you to shift gears. Just stop what you're doing. Before you enact anything else, grab a focus group. We don't do anything anymore. Nothing goes from our technology to benefits without getting some input from the people who are going to use it. Also ask why. There are so many things that we do, it's just because we've always done it. And that seems archaic when it comes to, you're supposed to be asking that anyway, right? But it's a great reminder. And little changes can come from just asking why. Because, I didn't realize that we did that. Let's change that up. You can shift your company in small ways by just asking why. And lastly, do it your own way. This is totally something that we've been able to do, but I think that every single person can recruit and make changes in their company in their own ways. Every company is amazing. Every company has great things. Every company has pain points. Identify your pain points and just start there. That's the easiest way to start. And I think that we can build a very, very amazing community from moving the needle forward. Thanks for taking the time today to listen to a little bit about my last 10 months. Thank you.